Welcome everyone to Comics Week in Review. I am Stephen McGauley, editor-in-chief of TMStash.com, and with me tonight is Joseph Gagel, our Marvel aficionado. How you doing tonight?
Not bad, Steven. How you doing?
And of course, Ed Garrett, Mr. DC and just comic guru. How we doing, Ed?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Awesome. Kind of a fun week again with comics and movies as Guardians takes another box office weekend this Labor Day weekend and is number one again. It's been number one in the box office every weekend except for Ninja Turtles opening weekend. Ninja Turtles are holding strong. They were like number 2 or 3 in the box office. I guess the big news, box office-wise, Sin City's not even in the top 10. Dame to Kill For is just struggling, and it's a solid movie. If you check out, last week I did a movie special, and we talked a little bit about a lot more about Sin City and how it really was a good movie, but I guess it just was not marketed very well and is not doing so well in the box office. But getting back to Guardians of the Galaxy, had a huge issue this week of Guardians of the Galaxy with the original Sin finally dropping for Guardians, and we're finally getting some answers-ish on what happened to Peter Quill and Nova when they went to go to trap Thanos in the Cancerverse. And we really didn't get any answers. Really just told that we are going to get some answers. But, Joe, what did you think of this week's Guardians?
Well, I thought it was a good-looking issue. I liked the way it kind of started out. I can't remember which issue exactly, but Gamora has questioned Peter Quill's survival several times over the course of the new run, and it looks like finally she gets the opportunity to tie him up and say, I want answers. You know, where's Richard Rider, and how did you make it out of there, and how is Thanos still alive? And we kind of get, I guess, the push to that, you know, because we talked about pre-show and how in comics they just love to dangle it in front of you like a worm on a hook, and then you know you get the first story, and then it's like, oh, we gotta keep the story going in the next issue. So it has to do with the Cosmic Cube, obviously, and it looks like they're going to have to give it to Thanos to escape, and it looks like they're going to have to make that old deal with the devil of, you know, and he really made a good point of, at first you all were ready to sacrifice your lives to make sure I died, but now you're fighting for your life, so I'm your only hope. And that's what it kind of leads the somewhat cliffhangers to, you know, how it happens, but I think everyone knows that a deal's been made.
It's kind of frustrating after years of not having answers as to how Peter Quill managed to survive the Cancerverse to begin with, knowing that it was a suicide mission, to get another story just telling us that, hey, it was a suicide mission and we're going to give you an answer, but not right now. You're going to have to buy some more books if you really want to know. But they kind of start to tell it, the story of the cube, and they kind of just leave us with Peter Quill wielding the cube. So, spoiler, sorry.
It was a good-looking issue, at least.
It was very, very well drawn issue. It was gorgeous, in fact. But pick it up. It's going to be a good next few stories coming along here with Guardians coming up. But not that DC was really having a weak either. They had a great Batman Eternal this week, right, Ed?
Oh, yeah, and I'm a big fan of Batman Eternal. This issue focused a lot on Alfred, who's obviously one of my favorite characters for many years, and a lot of other guys' favorites, but this one shows him in a different light. It gives you a little bit of what he probably was like before he became the Butler, when he was doing more of his own kind of special ops kind of work back in the day. He's trying to protect his daughter, and there is an intruder in Wayne Manor who is not after Batman, he's after Alfred. So it's pretty awesome. It's a classic Batman villain, somebody who has been really big in the last few years. I won't say anything more than that. I'll just go shh, see if you can guess from there. Uh, but you'll also get to see Commissioner Jason Bard. And this guy, they introduced him as a lieutenant coming in from outside the city. You've got two commissioners who've gone down now and have gone to jail. Commissioner Gordon's getting ready to be sent to prison for the supposed murder of maybe 150, 160 people that he's really not guilty of. But as the new commissioner takes office, we're going to find out whose side he is really on, and it's not completely unexpected, but they handle the twist really well. So there's a lot coming up in Batman Eternal. Over in the Flash, you've got the Future Flash coming back, trying to get back to the point in time where Wally dies. That's a few years in our future. In the present, you get to see Wally meeting his Uncle Daniel, and that's real important because Daniel, who we know is the Reverse Flash, Wally does not know that. But he's facing his favorite uncle, who now is confessing to him that he really is a crook. But there's a couple more twists to that story, even in the book, and some more things coming up. I'm anxious to see this get resolved because they've been doing a lot of building up. And in that issue, there's at least 3 major storylines competing for page space, which is my only complaint about the issue, is that I wish they'd had it double-sized. I think they could have handled more things there. Then over in Superman, you've got Ulysses meeting his parents, and a new villain being introduced called the Machinist. We'll see how that plays out. Jeff Johns and John Romita Jr., it's an interesting pairing. It's both everything you were looking for and not quite enough. I think I was hoping for a little bit more out of them, but I think this may be overly high expectations just because of the kinds of star power you're bringing to the creators. But again, wrapping it back up, Batman Eternal is the big deal of the week. That's huge, and if you're not reading that series, you're really missing out. That is an excellent, excellent series.
Awesome. Did you get to actually read Superman from this week, Ed? Because apparently Jeff Johns is back on it.
Oh yeah. I think my mic might have been cutting out on you there, but yes, Jeff Johns is on it. They've introduced the character Ulysses, who has sort of some parallels to Superman's story. He was actually born on Earth, though, and was sent into another dimension when his parents thought that they were about to have their entire reality torn apart. And something about that transporting to another dimension imbued this guy with similar powers to Superman. Now he's back. He meets his parents back on Earth, but he's still, rather naive about how things are on Earth. And he and Superman had certainly struck up a friendship, but there is this new villain who's come in called the Machinist, who's got some very interesting abilities and some weird tech. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, for all the great things, I mean, I'm a big fan of Jeff Johns. What he did with Rebirth for both Green Lantern and Flash, what he's done in the early part of the New 52, how he revitalized Aquaman, everything's great. I think, though, that sort of raised the bar so much that I was hoping even for greater things than maybe what they're delivering so far. That doesn't mean it's not a good series. It's just that Johns has really raised the bar on expectations from what he's done before, and certainly pairing with Romita would make you expect to see even a lot more than maybe even what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, definitely good to have him back on that series.
Yeah.
But Joe, we had the end of Wolverine this week, didn't we?
Well,
almost kind of buried that.
Yeah, it was number 12 was the last issue of his regular running series. Finally, we get to see him face up with Sabretooth, and it was a really well drawn panels. There were a couple pages just dedicated to them fighting it out. Wolverine even took his armor off and everything, and it was just man versus man pretty much. And he wins, but he does the one thing that people and even me didn't expect. He won by knockout. He just put his claws up and beat the hell out of him. Made him. He kind of, lured him into that false sense of security of I've got him on the ropes. He pulled a rope-a-dope on Sabretooth pretty much, knocked him out, and left him for the authorities. And, they kind of wrapped the issue up with a nice little ribbon, that kind of thing, and everyone's just kind of like, well, now where do we go from here? So, obviously, everyone knows this next week begins the death of Wolverine, so I'm not sure the kind of story they're going to go through with that, if it's going to be more of a natural thing, or I kind of hope it's a little exciting, because, it's Wolverine.
I'm sure it'll be huge. It's gonna be awesome. And sad at the same time. But Joe, what else did you have over there with Marvel?
I had a couple more. The all-new X-Men number 31 was just a little build issue, but they're doing a crossover with the Ultimate Universe, where somehow they get pulled into the Ultimate Universe, and they're met at the end of the issue by Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man. So I'm looking forward to that crossover, because they're all about the same age. They're all teenagers, so not only they're out of time now, they're going to be out of time in another dimension. So or another reality. So that'll be a neat one moving forward. And the other big one for me this week was Uncanny Avengers number 23. This is where part of the big Axis story is going to get kick-started, because they just saved the world, and now they're kind of in the aftermath, and they're visited by Immortus, who is a earlier version of Kang, who they just defeated. And he warns them of the Red Skull and his onslaught, which is basically he has the brain of Professor Charles Xavier, and he warns them that if you can beat this guy now, you've got to, because there's no future left for anybody. So this is gonna, like I said, this is gonna be a really big part of the upcoming Axis story in the fall, where the Red Onslaught begins, and it should be pretty neat.
Awesome. Ed, what do we have? What'd you have going on with the indies?
Oh gosh, there's a lot coming up this week. There's at Image. They're going to have the debut of God Hates Astronauts. They'll have the latest Nail Biter and.
I'm sorry, that's
yeah, God, I like the title, God Hates Astronauts. It looks interesting. Nail Biter is one of the creepiest books, and I love it. It's a series about a town called Buckaroo, Oregon, where 16 different serial killers have been spawned from this thing, including the one known as Nail Biter, who, after he killed people, liked to bite the nails of his victims. And they're using him to sort of find out what else is going on in this town right now. And Sidekick, Straczynski has really been deconstructing the whole idea of the Sidekick. And this Sidekick, his mentor was supposedly killed. He found out most recently that he never actually died, that he actually pulled a scam on everybody. And this guy, this Sidekick is just mentally broken. He's flipped to the other side, and it's been a really good series. It's hitting some hard lessons here pretty quick for him in issue number 8. Boom has the debut of Cloaks. It has Lumberjanes number 5, which is a really great one from their Boom box imprint. And then James Tynan's story, The Woods, hits issue 5. There's also a trade paperback coming out this week, and The Woods has been really good. Dynamite has an Alice Cooper comic coming out, number 1 issue coming out this week. That's just awesome by itself. I don't even need to say more. Vampirella is coming out. Turok is coming out. Red Sonja the Black Tower is coming out. Valiant has a series coming out called The Death-Defying Dr. Mirage, and this is a cool book. Dr. Mirage is, she has lost her husband. She can communicate with every spirit, it seems, except her own husband's spirit. She's being recruited into some very strange project. It's a great issue. I've had an advanced look at it. It's more than worth taking a look at. Dark Horse has Concrete Park coming out, and Grendel versus the Shadow number 1. IDW's got Indestructible number 8, and I love that series. That's about a guy who really doesn't have any powers, but everyone thinks he has powers, and so he's become instantly famous, and he doesn't know whether to really reveal that he's a fake or not. And then a friend of our site, Jeremy Whitley, has a My Little Pony book out. There's a digital, not the digital, but the original motion picture special edition of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out. And then not this week, but on the 10th, we will have the latest issue from Titan Comics of Doctor Who, the 11th Doctor. They've been doing a really good job with the 10th and 11th Doctors. They will have a 12th Doctor series come out before long. And that's sort of where we are. Now, let me give you DC real quick while I've got a shot here. Futures End editions for several books come out, including Action, Aquaman, Detective, Earth 2, Grayson, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, and Trinity of Sin. All of those will be Futures End editions set 5 years in the future. Things will be going on like Green Lantern. The Black Lanterns will be back. In Grayson, somehow he's big in Russia and trying to deal with some things there. In Detective, Batman is teaming up with the Riddler. Now, in the regular storylines, Batman Eternal continues, and Justice League will conclude their Injustice League arc. But the big thing for this coming week is the start of the September event. This is a big thing since the New 52 started in September of 2011. Every year they have some big event in September, and this year it's all the titles are going to have a Futures End edition. So check it out.
Awesome. Don't forget Angry Birds from IDW. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. They actually sell a bunch of books from that. Who would have thought it?
Right. Joe, what do you got coming up for Marvel this week?
Well, this next week is the conclusion of Original Sin as the 8th issue comes out. It's called Final Judgment, and I assume that's going to be the judgment on Nick Fury, who's been causing all kind of chaos in that. Definitely looking forward to that. Also for the Original Sin tie-ins, the Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier will continue in the Uncanny X-Men number 25. For the Cosmic World, we've got Legendary Star-Lord number 3 and Rocket Raccoon number 3. Those who still love Guardians, and you who shouldn't. Obviously, we talked about this earlier. The Death of Wolverine begins this week, and there will be an issue every week, and every issue will have a foil cover. So they're definitely giving the fans everything, and I'm sure it's going to have a price tag to go with it. Couple good Deadpool books this week: Deadpool versus X-Force number 4 and Deadpool versus Hawkeye number 0. That ought to be fun.
That'd be cool.
Two neat characters. Moon Knight continues on with its impressive run with its 7th issue. And finally, Captain America number 24, as that's another one of the big stories that's moving forward into Axis, as the old Captain America and his son fight to keep New York safe from Armin Zola and his forces of evil.
Awesome. Always lots to read every week. Get out your pocketbooks, everyone. It sounds like it's going to be an expensive week if you're a Marvel fan. But that pretty much wraps it up for what we have this week for comics. Again, to check out full reviews and everything, go to tmstash.com. We catch all of our reviews popping up here on Wednesday, sometimes Thursday if we're slacking, just have too much to write. But thanks so much for joining us. Again, I'm Steve McGauley, Editor-in-Chief. Joseph Gagel, Ed Garrett, thanks so much for joining me tonight. And everyone, keep reading the stash.